Guys, can you talk to me about how you're using assessments in your classroom, second grade classroom?
Second grade classrooms. Well, we took our critical concepts.
Yep.
We broke them down into the proficiency skills that they need. They're on a sheet. We track it by each time we come to that skill. For example, subtraction fact accuracy. Another one is coin identification. We track it with the date, what their percentage is, 1, 2, or 3, or 4. We really don't go to 4.
No, because we want them to be proficient, we want them to be level 3.
Exactly. So it's ongoing assessment with kids all the time.
So one thing that you said earlier was you don't feel like you're necessarily writing your assessment, you're finding your assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Tell me what you mean by that.
So we look at what our critical concept, what the critical concept we're working on is, and then we just use our resources or the internet resources to find things that fit that concept that we can actually check the kids on. So for instance, if we're doing coin identification, we find
Something that has coin identification. We don't reinvent the wheel.
and this tells me whether or not they can recognize a penny, heads or tails. They can recognize a quarter, tell the difference between that and a nickel. I don't need to,
Don't need to go back to it if they all get it. But there are kids that won't get it, and then we revisit it more with them.
yeah, and I can find other resources and different ways to help those kids with coin identification. But if most of the class gets it, then we're ready to move on to a different, running count, adding coins, counting a group of coins.
Yep. And let's say that we're talking money, and we were talking earlier. You can't remember how each kid does, if they can count by their fives for their nickels or whatever. So the reason that we like this proficiency breakdown for the standards is that it helps us we document each time. And I mean, our assessments are weekly. We keep visiting it. It's constantly. We'll find something and we'll be like, hey, this worked really well. We should include that in our proficiency of keeping our assessment tracking.
And it's a more accurate reflection of what the students actually know versus a one-time all or nothing assessment, which may have one problem in a certain skill
Right.
area. This way I can see if they can consistently demonstrate accuracy
skill.
at that skill.
And
proficiency at that
come
skill.
back to the skill when we're out of that unit and they have retained it. Also with parents, you show the parents and they can pretty much see exactly where their kid is at. So this, we are actually starting to move into a report card type thing.
Yep.
Because then now I can take that and say, the only thing he or she really needs to work on is counting by fives.
For expanded form, he forgets what that means, and so therefore,
And we can give them resources as well to help.
And you guys have already touched on it, but I mean, you touched on it heavily. How are you using these assessments to inform your instruction in the classroom?
It guides our
every
instruction.
day, completely. And it has us whole group, whether we need to address it as a whole group, whether we need to address it in small groups, with whether we need to do it a different way. That bombed. Next year won't be the same. We'll have different kids. We'll have different situations. This will change. We've already decided, oh my gosh, we forgot to add this. We need to add this next year. So we're starting with math because it's a little bit easier than reading, but we hope to.
But we'll have the resources available.
Mhm.
We have the resources we need.
And we're finally figuring out how to organize them.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Yep.